Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2025 BASIS Texas Charter Schools network-wide info session. I'd like to welcome any current BASIS families, any families who have applied for the upcoming year, or any new families here to find out about BASIS for the first time. We're so happy to have all of you here with us. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Ryan Krebs. I'm a content writer for BASIS.ed Texas and will be your co-host and MC for the evening. One quick thing that I'd like to point out is the Q&A feature here on Teams that allows you to ask questions throughout the session. We have some amazing staff and specialists standing by to answer them, but we'll also save some of the questions for the live Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So don't be shy. Feel free to ask away. Also, if there's a certain part of the presentation you'd like to circle back to in the future, we'll have a recorded version of this info session available on our website at enrollbasistx.com. That's enrollbasistx.com. So, last year, we hit a record high of 906 RSVPs for this event, and we were thrilled. We thought if we could match that this year, we'd really be doing well, but we had no idea what was coming. This year, we've more than doubled last year's record with a new high of 2,241 RSVPs. We were blown away and are truly grateful to have all of you here on this historic evening as we celebrate the growth of BASIS Texas and the strength of our community made up of amazing parents and students just like you. Tonight, you'll actually have the chance to meet some of our current parents, students, and our alumni, who all have personal stories to share about their experiences at BASIS Texas. We can't wait for you to meet them. But first, I'd like to introduce you to your special host for the evening, the CEO of BASIS.ed Texas, David Hubalik. David has been a part of the BASIS network since 2009. He has served as head of school for BASIS San Antonio Primary Medical Center, and he was the founding head of school at BASIS San Antonio Jack Lewis Jr. He knows the ins and outs of BASIS not only from a professional level, but is also a proud parent of 4 BASIS students. Prior to his current role, David also served as the Senior Vice President of School Management and Operations. I'd also like to say, David, you have to give me the number of your headshot guy because that photo is killing it. I need to step my game up a little bit, I think, as well, too. Everyone, please join me in welcoming David Hubalik.
Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's the magic of CGI. That's how that works.
It's AI. I get it.
That's right. I appreciate it, and thank you all to the families for joining us tonight. We know that in the middle of the week, especially a week like this, it's hard to break free from dinner, from extracurricular activities, homework, the like, to join us. So I'm excited to be here. I'm really excited that you're here. Over 2,000 RSVPs. That is something special. I think I thought that I would kick this thing off and talk a little bit about BASIS. You know, I've been around, as Ryan mentioned, for a while. I've been around since 2009. And I've had the fortunate opportunity to be with this amazing organization, educating thousands of students since we just had 2 schools. You were a small mom and pop shop with a very simple mission, which was to elevate the level of public education to globally competitive levels. You know, we believe strongly at our core that our students are capable of so much more. We know that if we're not doing that, if we're not raising that bar, if we're not providing that level of education, the rest of the world is going to pass us by. And we love our students. We love our children. We deserve better, or they deserve better. And so why not provide it to them? And that's really at the core of what we do. We set the bar high. We provide meaningful supports to our students. We put them in front of expert teachers, and we let them flourish. We let them grow. We let them become what they're capable of. You know, I also have the privilege of working professionally with this organization, but then also as a parent. As Ryan mentioned, I have 4 of my own children at a BASIS Texas charter school, and my 5th is about to be a kindergartner at BASIS Jack Lewis Jr. campus. So watch out, Miss Cepeda. The tiny tornado is coming next year. But what I really wanted to talk about and spend just a few moments is with the raising of the bar, with these amazing teachers, what is the effect? You know, we tend to say your students will go from bored to brilliant, but that means something to us. So what is this thing that happens is something that we like to call the basis of fact. And we've outlined a couple bullet points here, but I just want to touch on a couple of them because they're truly profound. Um, I think first and foremost, the self-confidence that is instilled in our students. We know that students are capable of achieving more, but too often in public education, we're not raising that bar for our students. You know, the chairman of our board, Craig Barrett, has often said, when you raise the bar here, students will achieve it. When you raise it here, students will achieve it. So why not keep raising the bar? But especially because something really important happens. Students realize their success and they grow in that confidence that is necessary as a prerequisite to success in their life. And that self-confidence is something we see in our students. They've learned to fall down, and more importantly, they've learned to get back up. And there's great confidence that comes from that. They grow in initiative. They're more likely to take risks, and with great risk comes great reward. But the last thing I want to touch on is something that I personally deal with every single day. I live west of San Antonio, so I've got a good long drive with my 4 BASIS students. And every single afternoon when I pick them up from Carline and I drive all the way back to our home, I get to engage in fun, fact-filled conversations. And it's not just with my BASIS students, but I've experienced it throughout my career. I've been fortunate to work at 6 different schools, and I've had the opportunity to work with students, and the things that they learn and the questions they ask are unbelievable. I recently had one of our students come up to me and ask me, and I'm not making this up, ask me, can you tell me the pros and cons of the flat tax? This is a 12-year-old. And I had to inform myself a little bit about the pros and cons of a flat tax in a modern economy. But those are the types of questions that are asked by our students because they are pushed by subject expert teachers that truly know their subject and are passionate about that. And from that transcends this beautiful education that our students get to participate in. And that's the basis effect, and something that you, as a prospective parent or a current parent, and what we hope to be is a BASIS Texas Charter School parent, you get to engage in, because that's something that is so fulfilling as a parent, knowing that your students are doing something amazing and they're on that path to being something amazing. So with that being said, and speaking of amazing, what I'd like to do is not just talk about the BASIS effect from my perspective, but I'd actually like to bring in one of our own students from BASIS Benbrook. We have Arjun and his mom Dixita to tell a little bit about that BASIS effect.
We were looking for a challenge, and we had heard from a lot of people that the curriculum is excellent. And now that we are there, yes, I agree, curriculum is excellent. And I think parents also have to be okay with the fact that there will be homework every day. Well, yeah, just most every day. There are times when we don't have any, but it's not a lot of homework. It takes maybe like 15-20 minutes a day. And all of the teachers have been really great. He's a little bit advanced, so they actually meet him where he is, which again, was a challenge when we were not at BASIS. So it's been great for him, and I really appreciate it. So he's, like I said, they have met him where he was, so now he doesn't get in trouble as much as he used to, if at all. I would get phone calls pretty much every day that he got into some sort of trouble. But now, now that he has a challenge with classwork, I don't really have to worry about it.
Scientist and be the richest man in the world.
David, I'm loving those sunglasses. What did you think about those?
I think he's given Bezos and Musk a run for their money.
Oh, yeah. And, you were talking about the flat tax earlier. I have a feeling Arjun is already set up with that knowledge of taxes very well if he's trying to be the richest man in the world.
Right.
Well, we wish Arjun the best with his journey, both academically and financially. And it's great to hear success stories like that from our parents and current students. And David, when you were discussing talking with your children after picking them up from school, it's great to see that the way that a student develops can also challenge the parent to grow a little bit, to learn new things, and to constantly be a lifelong learner as that way in that way as well too. You know.
Yeah, I fear that my son is starting to realize that he might know more than me at this point. So my researching skills on the fly, I've had to improve quite dramatically recently.
There you go. The research skills bumped up a level now. So that's great. Yeah. So we also have one of our previous BASIS students with us tonight. She's here to tell us about her academic journey that led her from graduating BASIS and now helping BASIS students just like her achieve their dreams. David, would you like to introduce our guest?
Of course, and I up until recently, I have not referred to her as this, but now I can proudly refer to as Miss Evans. Miss Evans joins us. She is currently a college guidance counselor at our BASIS San Antonio Chavano campus. She's doing phenomenal work there. But where I really know her is when she was a student with us at at what was our founding and flagship school in Texas, BASIS San Antonio Medical Center, when it was a middle and high school student. I know her as a phenomenal student, a wonderful person. She was one of the founding members of the BASIS San Antonio Medical Center Red Cross Club. Just a wonderful, wonderful person. And we were thrilled when she decided to bring those talents back to BASIS and give back to our students. Just the gift that keeps on giving. So, Miss Evans, welcome. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and ask you a couple of questions. And I guess I'm going to start with, what was your experience as a BASIS student?
Yeah, so I think first off, it was challenging, which is kind of the point of BASIS, is to give that extra challenge to students so they can grow with it. And so that was really what I was looking for because I was looking at public school and that was not going to give me the challenge that I wanted and needed. So first off, definitely the challenge was there. But I think, and that can be kind of scary, but I think that was an incredibly strengthening experience as well. Because I really got to take accountability for my education. I didn't, have to rely on other people to tell me what to do and how to uh, progress through the curriculum and everything. I could ask questions and I knew how to ask those questions and how to engage with faculty members and administration, and that was really empowering. But I also think like it taught me so much about the things that I love that I wouldn't have gotten at other places. So like I know for our senior year like capstone courses, I took a class with one of the teachers who still works here actually, and it was on world religions that actually inspired some of my educational pursuits in college and one of my majors, thanks to him for giving us that information. So um, strengthening, impactful, like really just a beautiful experience and forever a memory.
That's great. I love it. I promised I wouldn't ask you who your favorite head of school was, so you can tell me offline. But before we go into our next part, I want to kind of ask you a couple more questions. You talked a little bit about what life was like post BASIS in college. Obviously, you made it through. You had fun at BASIS, right? It's
Oh,
fun to
yes.
go to BASIS, right? It's fun to learn. Nerds are cool, right? But tell me a little bit more about that experience. How did that help you in college? That kind of being maybe a little bit pushed, maybe it being a little tough, having to, advocate for yourself at BASIS. How did that help you in your college experience?
And Miss Evans, if you wouldn't mind just speaking up just a little bit as
Oh,
well
yeah.
too. I think the microphone is just a little foggy right now.
No worries.
Awesome.
Hopefully this is good. But yeah, absolutely. So uh, first and foremost, like I said, inspired my educational pursuits of what I actually studied in college. But I also during college had a lot of extracurricular roles that I did where I needed to work with faculty members, administration, And so knowing how to communicate with people who were specialized in their fields, who knew more than I did, and knowing how to work collaboratively in a learning environment and in a working environment was really helpful to come in with that knowledge. So, whereas some of my peers when I started college might have felt very nervous about reaching out to those kinds of people, I was like, give me a computer
You
and an
got
email
this. Yeah.
address, and I got it.
Yeah.
um, so that was definitely really helpful there. But I also felt like I knew what kind of learner I was and how I needed to prioritize my learning from being at BASIS. I know it might sound kind of like that's what you're supposed to say, but I really feel that the transition to college was so much smoother because of BASIS.
That's great. So how is that experience translating into the work that you're doing now? And a little bit about what is your role as a college guidance counselor?
Yeah, so as a college guidance counselor, basically what we do is we guide the students through the college application process. So we start meeting with them in ninth grade to figure out what kinds of schools they want to apply to, what kinds of things they want to study, how to build their resumes, their transcripts, things like that, to get them ready to start applying to school. And then during their senior year, we do the hands-on work of reading through all of their application materials, advising them on how to proceed with applications, making sure they have their deadlines ready to go so that they're informed participants in their own process and helping them advocate for themselves. And it's really a place where sometimes I feel like I'm being led by the students because it's really like, it's up to you. I'm here to support you. Um, and so I think because like I started out with BASIS being a very like, I know how to support myself kind of role, but
Mhm.
also seeing my teachers support me, that continued in college of I tend to take on very guiding roles when I choose my pursuits. And so doing that, I just kind of wanted to give back to my community that did so much for me. And so this has just been a really great opportunity to do that and to help guide students and to kind of hopefully instill some of the skills that I got at BASIS too.
Excellent. Well, look, Miss Evans, thank you for all that you're doing for the students. Thank you for giving up your evening to be here and share a little bit about your experience both as a BASIS student and now as an exceptional BASIS team member. Um, so with that, as Miss Evans has she kind of talked about, is that experience in high school sets you up for that next level. You're ready to go out into the world and pursue your passions in that next level. But right before that happens, we have something special, or the culmination of our high school program is something that we like to call the BASIS Senior Project. And with that said, we'll go ahead and learn a little bit more about what the BASIS, that culmination of the program is, and what that looks like.
A senior project is essentially you taking something that you're really interested in. It doesn't matter the field. You don't need to confine it to academia, really. So these can be subjects in maybe it's film, maybe it's neuroscience, maybe it's law, maybe it's English. It could be some combination of the two. Really, it's just any idea you find really fascinating and you want to dive into more. There should be some sort of, nagging question in the back of your mind that helps you pursue it further and helps get you through those 10 weeks. But it's really just like 10 weeks of exploration, I would say. The senior projects, I think, provide students the unique opportunity to take concepts out of the textbook and into reality. But with transitioning from theory to practice comes a lot of complexity. But I think having the opportunity to explore that complexity through 10 weeks, you don't get that opportunity anywhere else, especially being this young. I think it really helped me understand where I would like to go in this field in the future.
Great. So now you've seen the progression of our students' academics journeys. So I'd like to just pivot a little bit to the journey and the growth of BASIS Texas Charter Schools. As we mentioned before, we came to Texas in 2013, and I'm incredibly proud of the impact that BASIS has had here in Texas. And I'm so excited to just think about what we have planned for the future. You know, BASIS started in 1998 with, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, with a very simple vision, a very simple mission. We started in a small strip mall with 56 students. Now we have 45 schools across this great country. Here in Texas, we're excited to open our doors to 2 beautiful new campuses, BASIS Plano and BASIS Richardson. And then in the fall of 26, we're going to be opening our doors to BASIS Leander, and that rounds out our campuses to 20. And we've got a lot more growing to do, because as we mentioned before, we've got a lot of families that want the BASIS education. So over the course of the next 3 years, despite us starting in Arizona, Texas is ready to surpass the campus count in Arizona, and we're growing from there to more and more Texas communities. And one of the things that I think is most important to think about is that in our 26-year history of BASIS charter schools writ large, we're very proud of the fact that we've had persistent, unrelenting growth, but we've never closed the campus. As you know, many public schools are dealing with a number of or public districts are dealing with a number of concerns. One of the things that you can count on is that by choosing BASIS, your students not only going to get an exceptional education, but they're going to get a steady education as we move forward. So my question is, are you ready? Are you ready to join the best charter school network in the nation? So we'll go ahead and jump. You are.
Sign me up.
So
let's go.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll jump into the next steps here. So before we jump into the Q&A session or portion of this evening, I would be remiss if I didn't remind families, if you have not applied already, you can absolutely still apply for the 25-26 school year. And as I mentioned, we have 2 new beautiful campuses opening up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, BASIS Plano and BASIS Richardson. So first and foremost, if you haven't applied, apply now. We are still accepting applications. We're making offers as we speak. Secondarily, if you have applied and you have gotten an offer, please go ahead and click that accept button. Secure your spot for next year and not check that off the list. Then finally, engage with us. We'd love to see you. We'd love to hear from you. We want you to join our social media. We want you to come and join a tour. If perhaps I didn't share enough with you today, or Ryan didn't share enough with you, or perhaps you just want to see it for yourself, come sign up for one of our tours. We have them every single week at all of our campuses. We love for you to interact with our students, for them to interact with you. I think you'll like what you see. And then finally, tell your friends and family. We want to provide this great education to as many students as possible. So again, go ahead, scan that QR code. I'll sit and wait. I'll give you a couple seconds.
Sharing is caring, right, David? Is that true?
That's
I've heard that.
That's right. Sharing is caring.
Okay.
Very good.
Go.
All right. All right. So moving ahead, Ryan, what do we got?
Yeah, we have a whole bunch of questions, David. So I hope you're ready to dig into some of these. I'm excited. So we've been getting questions from all over Texas as well this evening, which is awesome to see. I just want to have a friendly reminder real quick that our chat moderators are doing their best to respond to everyone's questions. So if your direct question hasn't been answered, it could be that a similar question was responded to already. So please scroll through the Q&A log to see if you had a similar question to somebody else's and it was just responded to maybe a little bit earlier than yours as well too. So that being said, let's go into question number 1, David. So this one is going to be from Rebecca from Austin. And the question is, my daughter is in 3rd grade and is not a straight A student. Will BASIS be too hard for her?
So the great answer is that, especially in our primary school, but across the continuum, as Miss Evans had mentioned earlier, we have a great support network. Now, particularly in our primary, we have a 2-teacher model. So one of the things that you can anticipate is that you have a learning expert teacher. That learning expert teacher is with your student all day long. You can think of them as a homeroom teacher. They have a background in elementary education, early childhood development. They know how students learn. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to be with them all day long, and they're going to move from class to class, getting that subject specific content from somebody who is knowledgeable and passionate about the subject that they're teaching. Right? I can teach first grade math. I mean, I know first grade math. I'm not that interested in math. So that's one of the things that makes it special. The way that we bring on our team members is a prerequisite to teaching at a BASIS school is you have to be two things. You have to be passionate, and you have to also be knowledgeable, because we want our students to get excited about math, to get excited about history. I'm not going to excite anybody about economics, but my background's in biology. Put me in a biology classroom, I can get kids excited about meiosis and mitosis. So that's one of the beautiful things. But with the learning expert teacher that's with them all day, the other thing that they're going to be doing is they're going to be working with students. Students are going to take assessments at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year. And if any of our students are demonstrating any sort of risk, they're going to be getting regular interventions and progress monitoring. So regardless of where our students, whatever experience they have had prior to coming to BASIS, we work to close those gaps. And we work really, really hard. And that's one of the benefits of this two-teacher model that we have.
David, it sounds to me like in your classroom, it's definitely chlorophyll and not borophyll. Am I right?
That is absolutely right. Now,
The
again,
rumors are
put me
true
in
then.
put me in an economics classroom, and it will be plenty of borophyll.
Okay, nice. We'll stick to
All
the biology then.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, so our next question is going to be from Lucas from San Antonio. And Lucas wants to know, on your website, it says that nerds are cool. What does that mean?
Excellent question, Lucas. One is, we really think that nerds are cool. I mean, I think that that's one of our core values. It's one of the things that we believe strongly in. But what it does actually is that it being at the center of our values, it's a core value, meaning that it's something that we don't just say, but we live. And so effectively, that's the culture that we seek to build. It is that learning is intrinsically valuable, and we want to develop a love of learning. And those who learn a lot, those are the ones that we want to look up to, we want to seek out, we want to learn from. And so we want to instill in our students a culture of a love of learning. And because learning begets learning, the more you learn, the more you're capable of learning, which is a critical piece of us setting those high standards, that high bar.
That's great. Let's see. Let's get into a couple of these questions from the audience as well, too. Do you offer before or after school care / programs?
That's a great question. So, yes. So all of our campuses open their doors at 7 a.m. We have something that we affectionately call Early Bird. Early Bird begins once our doors open. You can drop your students off anywhere between 7 a.m. and the time that their class starts. Now, our students are expected to be on time, so the earlier the better. Then what we have in the afternoon is something that we call Late Bird. Late Bird goes until 6 p.m. That is a program, an after-school program for our students to participate in until mom and dad can come pick them up. Some of our students just participate in Late Bird, but going to one of the questions you asked a little bit earlier about supports, after school, all of our teachers, they hold what we call office hours, similar to what we experienced in college, where professors would hold office hours, where there's an opportunity to come, ask questions, get some extra help. All of our teachers offer those every single week. So we encourage our students to advocate for themselves, to come participate in student hours. There's extracurricular activities that our students sign up for. We have sports, we have clubs, whether they're academic, Science Bowl, which, going back to nerds are cool. I've been a Science Bowl coach for a number of years, and I wear that badge very proudly. So there's plenty of opportunities before and after school, but we also have those formal before and after school programs available to all students.
It's really great. It sounds like no matter what time of day, almost like a BASIS campus is going to be a place that's supportive and really just a home for learning, basically, as well, too.
That's right. That's right. We like to say that our teachers don't teach in a classroom; they teach in a school, which means
Nice.
that every moment is an opportunity for learning, and that's something that we live by.
So true. And something you could really take on into the world with you after you leave, after you leave basis. That would be great.
That's right.
So let's see. Next up, this question is, what are chances of being accepted if you are on the wait list? / how does the wait list work?
So it's a multi-parter, so I'm going to do my best there, Ryan. So first, there's no way for us to quantify what your exact chances are because the demand is a little bit different campus to campus. But what I can say definitively is that your best chances, the best opportunity for your child to get a BASIS Texas Charter School education is to apply to multiple campuses. If you don't get into your preferred campus in the first year, what that does is it does allow you to apply to your preferred campus the following year and receive a transfer priority. So maybe you don't get in the first year, but you have a better shot of getting in the second year. Secondarily, you can also be going to one campus and being on the wait list at another campus. So let's say, for instance, you want your student to go to BASIS San Antonio Medical Center, but you're on the wait list. The best opportunity for your student to get in is to apply to one of our other campuses, whether it's Jack Lewis Jr. or North Central. You can be attending those campuses and be on the wait list at the medical center campus. So your student is receiving the same high quality BASIS Texas Charter School education while they're waiting for a seat at the preferred campus because maybe it's a little bit closer to your home or your work. So your student is not losing out on this education while you wait for that preferred opportunity. But going back, or for that preferred campus. But going back, the best opportunity is to apply to multiple campuses.
And so, David, do you think then it's more beneficial to, even if you're still on the wait list somewhere else, to get your student into a campus, to get them in a seat and start learning with BASIS, kind of the BASIS way earlier, you'd think?
Without question, because that's one of the beautiful things about being a network of charter schools is, of course, each campus has its own flavor. Each campus has a little bit differences in terms of how they run their lunchroom or those types of things. But one thing as a BASIS charter school parent is that you're going to get that same quality curriculum delivered by teachers who may be different, the person, but the qualities that we look for in our teachers and our team members are the same, and they're oriented towards the culture and the rigor that we have within our schools. And so your students will get a leg up as opposed to perhaps joining later in the year, having not participated in our program.
Nice. And I think discussing the team members goes perfectly into the next question we have, which is how does BASIS attract and retain teachers?
It's an excellent question. It's a difficult one, right? We are not immune to the challenges that are associated with high employment, right? High employment means the talent pool is a little bit smaller. So one of the things that we do first and foremost is that we go out of our way to make sure that teachers and team members know exactly who we are. If we hold our students to a high standard, we have to hold ourselves to an equally high and really a much higher standard. So it's not easy to work for our schools. We work really hard, but we work really hard and we want to do it every day because the stakes are that high. This is the future of our country. These students have every right to this education, and we need to work very, very hard to make sure we provide them the very best. We're honest about who we are and what we do. Being a charter school, we're not under the same restrictions as district schools in terms of the qualifications necessary. But as I mentioned before, the things that are absolutely prerequisites if you want to teach or work at a BASIS school is that you have to both be passionate and knowledgeable in what it is that what you are teaching. So we cast a wide net and I'm sorry?
No, go for it, David. I was just going to add on, I think at the recent head of school retreat, one line that stuck with me that kind of resonates there, I think, is that one of the head of schools mentioned that upon being hired, at this other BASIS campus, they said that you're going to work hard, but the parents work hard, the students work hard, the administration works hard. Everyone is working hard for the same goal. And in that way, it's empowering that way. And there will be work, but it's a team working together.
That's right. We have a sign over our doors at the Jack Lewis Junior campus that says, "The process is simple, the work is hard, the stakes are high, you are worth it."
Nice.
And that's something we really believe in. As far as retention, we want people that want to work for us, right? They not just work at any school, but work with our students, work with our families. And we reward them for that hard work. We work very, very hard to provide them incentives to stay. And we're really proud of that. We give what we call our annual teacher fund bonuses. These are bonuses that are based on merit. So the harder you work, the better your students do, the more money you make. And that serves as an incentive as well. But that pales in comparison to the cultural incentive, which is I'm at a place that I really want to be, working with students that I really want to work with. They push me as much as I push them. And there's no incentive greater than feeling successful at what you do, and at what you do is making a difference.
Definitely really rewarding. So I think this next question actually works really well, seeing as how we are in January now. So the question is, can my student join BASIS mid-year? And how would they be supported in this process?
Absolutely. So we do have seats available at some of our campuses for the current school year. So apply. We are consistently making offers to those on the wait list as and when seats become available. And so we encourage families to apply. Again, get a leg up, start through the end of this year, and carry that on into the summer, into the next year. There's a number of things that we do depending on the grade level. As I mentioned before, at the primary level, we have our middle of the year assessments. We do those in various forms from grades K until 5. That will give our schools an opportunity to kind of get a sense of how prepared your students are relative to where the students we would expect a student who's been here all year to be. And then that informs next steps. So in the middle school, we have our student support program. So working with our student affairs office, going to student hours or the teacher's office hours. Or alternatively, in the primary, you have those interventions coming directly from those learning expert teacher. One of the other benefits that we have for our families is that every week our teachers are required or are offering what we call parent hours. So every week you can meet with your students' teachers. You can just sign up. They are dedicated hours exclusively for parents. So you can meet with your child's teachers every week if you'd like. And we encourage that because while we work very, very hard for our students, we know what you're doing at home. I mean, I know what I do at home with my kids. We know our families work hard. And you're the primary educator in your child's life. And we respect that, and we respect that boundary. Truly we do. So this has to be a partnership, but it has to work both ways. So we encourage that dialogue. We encourage that communication. We want to know what you're seeing at home. We want you to know what's happening at school, so we can best support your students.
Nice, nice. Uh-oh, David, it looks like a possible future student has snuck into the chat. This question is, I heard there is a lot of homework. Is this true? What do you think?
Yes. Next question.
Answered. Done.
Yeah. So at BASIS, we believe that homework is important, right? Let's go back to let's kind of kick it over to sports. We know that the best way to master that jump shot is to practice that jump shot, right? And so we believe that homework is important. We're not going to shy away from it. We're not going to lie about it. We think that homework is critical to success. But one of the things that we can promise families is that, one, it's practice, and students should not be learning at home. At the same time, though, it should not be all consuming. Children only have one opportunity to be children, right? We want children to be kids. We want them to go run around the neighborhood, scrape their knees, ride their bikes. And if we are putting too much on our students, we're essentially working against ourselves. They have to have the opportunity. So we assign homework. We think it's good. We think it's necessary, but only when it's necessary and it's not learning, it's practice. So what you can anticipate at BASIS is at the primary levels, you can anticipate math homework every single day and a literacy packet. And then we also encourage 20 minutes of reading, whether it's mom and dad reading to the child or the child reading themselves. Once we get into the middle grades, you can anticipate about an hour a day. And then it varies once we get into the high school, depending on the course load. So it's not all consuming. It's not overwhelming. We think it's important. But what we also think is important is that your children have the opportunity to be kids. Our kids participate in extracurricular activities. We have students in competitive sports. All of those things are good and absolutely necessary for the development of children. So yes, homework, but no, not all consuming.
Nice. And that segues perfectly into this next question. They want to know, what type of sports and extracurriculars do your campuses offer? Are there any specific, David, that are close to your heart? I know math decathlon. Are we?
Yeah, I mentioned so Science Bowl. I'm just going to give a little plug to Science Bowl here as a Science Bowl coach for 3 different schools, 3 different BASIS schools. Our kids have done phenomenally well. We go to nationals just about every year. So a little plug to the Science Bowl. It's a lot of fun. But yes, absolutely. We have an array of extracurricular opportunities. We have academic competitions, so we participate in UIL, whether it's academic decathlon or other academic opportunities through UIL. Our BASIS Cedar Park campus did a phenomenal job last year. Their students did exceptionally well. Our BASIS Chavano campus sent last year a school to the National Science Bowl, as I mentioned before. So plenty of opportunities that exist there. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we also have athletic. We participate in the Texas Charter School program. I'm sorry, the Texas Charter School Sports Association. So our students, we think competition is good. We think it's good for the development. I'm a huge sports fan myself. Unfortunately, I'm an Arizona fan, and so I'm regularly disappointed. I'm going to have to jump on the Texas bandwagon, but ultimately, we think that those things are good and important as well. So we do have competitive sports. And then we also just have fun clubs. We have Lego Club. And one of the great things about BASIS, and kind of going back to what one of the things I said about Miss Evans, was we didn't create the Red Cross Club at that campus. The students came to us and said, we want a Red Cross Club because we want to give back to our community. So we said, okay. And they founded. So when I say she was a founding member, quite literally, they founded that club, and then it served the community and the campus.
David, this is a question that seems to come up kind of frequently. It is, what is the average class size and teacher to student ratio?
That's great. It is a common question. So one of the things that we believe strongly in at the primary level is that ratios matter, right? And so because we have that 2-teacher model, you can anticipate about a 15 to 16 to 1 ratio, or 15 to 1 ratio with those students. We think that ratio is really, really important. Being a public charter school in the state of Texas, with the way that funding levels are, we'd love for that to come down. But overwhelmingly, especially once you get into the middle high school, research has shown that within acceptable ranges, so you could anticipate about 30 students in the classroom. What is actually the most important thing, and the thing that drives the most amount of success, is not the ratio. It actually has more to do with the quality of the teacher. And so we'd love to bring those down, but ultimately the most important thing for us is going to be the quality of that teacher, that passion, and that subject expertise that we talked about. And so again, in the middle school, you can count on about 30 students in a classroom. Same is true at the primary level, but you have the 2 teachers, so that ratio is extremely important, about 15 to 1. And then once we get to the high school, that's when our curriculum starts to become a little bit more broad. So we're talking not just depth, but also breadth. And so it's not uncommon for our high school classes to have 20 students in a class, 15 students in a class, 25 students in a class. So our high schools tend to be a little bit lower in terms of the number of students in a class.
Nice. As far as students go, especially, I think this other question is asking for students that may be a little bit more advanced or a little bit behind. How does BASIS handle that, David?
Yeah, and we spoke a little bit earlier about the things that we do to make sure that all of our students are, regardless of what their educational experience has been to date, are supported, right? So if we have, our graduation requirements are different from the state's the foundational high school program. So we have a much higher goal line, let's call it, going back using a sports reference. So if our endpoint is much higher, but we can't control the education that the students have had prior to coming to us. So they're coming to us maybe a little bit more advanced, maybe a little bit more behind, because of what they've experienced. We have to make sure that we're meeting students where they're at. Right. If we have that same level of expectation at the end, we need to make sure that we're varying the degrees of inputs. So if our students that are coming to us perhaps a little bit behind, we have the supports that we spoke to a little bit earlier. The students that are a little bit more advanced, we have advanced tracks. There's opportunities within mathematics. There's opportunities, especially once we get into the high school program. We're an AP program. All of our students are required to take a minimum of 6 AP exams. The average BASIS student graduates anywhere year to year between about 10 and 14. So that's a lot. Those are college level courses taught to high school students. If you score a passing grade, meaning a 3 out of 5 or higher, most colleges will award you credit for those. And so there's many of opportunities to expand that rigor in your own your high school plan. And so there are opportunities along the way, but then there are also many more opportunities once we get to that high school level. And one of the things I'll just say that I think is extremely important that I perhaps don't say enough is that as a public school in Texas, we're not a magnet school. We're a public charter school, which means we don't select our students. Our students and families select us. So when we think about our academic results, those are indicative of our entire student body, not just students on a particular track who have tested into this college level program. Oftentimes we get questions, do you have gifted and talented? We like to say all of our students are gifted and talented. And we don't mean that we're not kind of placating, but what we mean is if given the right supports, if given the right trajectory, all students are capable of this. And so when we're able to say in the U.S. News and World Report rankings that BASIS San Antonio Chavano campus is a top 100 public school in the country, and those are based largely on how students perform on these college level assessments. Well, one of the things that perhaps we don't say enough is other schools that are on that list and considered in those rankings, they select their students. We don't select our students, our families select to us. Their students perhaps are on tracks. Our students are not on tracks. So it's really something when our students come to us saying, I want to work hard, I want to achieve something great because I want to prepare myself for that next step, and they do it. It's really, really profound, and something that we really, really take a lot of pride in is that it's indicative of all of our student body. There are no barriers to entry. There are no barrier. If those things are necessary and those things are important, they should be available to everybody. So we remove the barriers, give them the supports, put great teachers in front of them, and let them achieve at high levels.
That's great. David, you're in tune with the questions being asked right now. It seems you have some psychic connection. This next one is
That's not on
dovetailing.
purpose. So for the record, families, this is the first time I'm hearing these questions.
No, yes. It's just something is going on. The vibe is right, we could say, I think, in this situation. Right. So this next one, kind of touching on what you were discussing a little bit, was they want to know what makes BASIS curriculum different than other schools. And I know we talked about AP a little bit. Is there anything else that you could think of that sets BASIS apart that way?
Well, I think it's interesting because if we think about it, if you're in San Antonio, you can go to Churchill, you can go to Health Sciences, you can go to O'Connor, and you can get APs. I think it's a little bit different because you got to be on those tracks, but ultimately you can access AP curriculum. I think what really, and I don't think, I know, is that it's not by accident that our schools over the course of the last 26 years. So when I started in 2009, we had two schools, Basis Scottsdale and Basis Tucson. So we've gone from two schools to our 45 now. Now, not all of those are high schools, but each of the high schools that Basis has, each of them ends up eligible and in the top 100 public schools in the country. Now, the question is that by act? Did we just get lucky? Or is there something that happens? Well, what the thing that happens is we say, okay, these we're an AP program, and that AP program, if we want to make it accessible to all, and if we want all of our students to achieve at those levels, then we have to reverse engineer our curriculum in a way that spirals up to the culmination of these programs. This is how our students in high school demonstrate college readiness. And if those things are important, then in order to make them accessible, we have to design our curriculum in a way that works backwards from that. One of the things we like to say is every one of our teachers is an AP teacher. And so we design our topics and we design our objectives in a way that lead up to that culmination, whether it's in science, whether it's in the humanities, whether it's in mathematics. And so in saying that all teachers are AP teachers, what we're really trying to convey is, I have my kindergartner, as I mentioned. My kindergartner is coming in. He's 4. We call him Tiny Tornado, or also Buster, because he's a handful. I love him. He's my son, but he is all boy. But that 5-year-old is going to be 10 pretty soon. And that 10-year-old is going to be 15 pretty soon. And that 15-year-old is going to be 20 pretty soon. As much as we don't want to admit, our children are going to grow up. And so ultimately, understood properly in the context of the BASIS environment, we have to start challenging our students and preparing them for that next level. And I think that speaks to the results that our students have when it comes to these college level courses.
Nice. That's great. David, I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions real quick, if we can have you here for a little bit longer. Let's see. This one is, what is the college acceptance rate and what percentage get into an Ivy League school?
Oh, you're challenging me. Okay, so I don't know the exact answer to the Ivy League question, but I'll answer this to the best of my ability because I just don't have the numbers in front of me. The first part is easy. 100% of our students get accepted into a 4-year college. As Miss Evans mentioned earlier, her job, one of the critical pieces, not just to work with the students, but is also to teach the college counseling class. It is a graduation requirement at BASIS that all of our students have the college counseling class every day during their senior year. We walk them through the admissions process. We help them find schools, right? Ivy League schools may not be the best for every student because what they want to pursue, there are better opportunities at a different school. So what we like to do is we like to marry a student's passion with their skill set and help them kind of see that there are more than just Ivy League schools. But in a lot of cases, Ivy League schools is the best choice. I will say that going back 1 year, not the most recent graduating class, but the one prior, we had 80% of our students were accepted into top 100 schools, as reported by the U.S. News and World Report. So 80% of our students were accepted into top 100 universities in the country.
Wow, nice. Let's see. Let's get this last one in.
Real quick, I want to add one more kind of put a pin in that as well. Is that also included an average merit-based scholarship of over $200,000?
Wow. Nice. 100% college acceptance is so great too. I mean, that's amazing.
I mean, they work hard. They do well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we did cover the top now, college. Just a quick question to end this one out. Someone wants to get a brief overview on the kindergarten program. We'll go from the beginning, Started from the top. Now we're here. So at the kindergarten level.
All right. Kinder, as we mentioned before, Kinder similarly has a 2-teacher model. One of the key differences, though, is that they're not going to be moving from class to class. The Kinder model is actually our only self-contained classroom on our BASIS campuses. They're learning, they're learning skills. In a lot of cases, this is their first, social environment with, being away from home, being away from mom and dad, being in an environment where they're not running around all day. And so it's a self-contained classroom. We recognize that that's developmentally appropriate for our youngest learners. But we also, and I think that this is one of the things that's really neat about what BASIS does, is all of our kinder classrooms have a direct door to a kinder-only playground, because we also know that 5-year-olds, sometimes they just need to get the wiggles out. And that's a very good thing. So they just open the doors, let them run around, take a brain break, and come back in. In the kinder program, and I would encourage our families to go to our website. On our website, you can find our curriculum maps. You can learn a little bit more about what that day looks like. But one of the most important part, we've got civics instruction, where we're kind of teaching them what it is to engage in polite society. What are manners? What are some of the things that we do when we're engaging in around other people? They have PE every day. Like I said, there's never enough time to get the wiggles out of a 5-year-old. They're going to have math every day. They're going to have literacy every day. Our youngest learners are just learning what it is to read. And so what we like to say is that it's a full day, but that's really where we focus on developing a love of learning.
Nice.
And really helping them get to that point. Yeah.
Is a great way to kind of see what these campuses are equipped with, right? You were talking about the kindergarten playroom is some of the school tours, at one a week at every campus. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, come see. One of the great things about these tours is they're usually small. We kind of cap them at about, 10, 15, 20 people. So you get a lot of opportunities to ask questions. You get a lot of opportunities to see. We pop into classrooms. We're not just touring hallways. It is definitely true that we say you teach in a school, not a classroom, but the magic happens in the classroom. And so come see the classrooms for yourself, engage with our school leaders, answer the questions. And really that kind of brings us to kind of the recap of the evening. It's been a great opportunity to kind of get a chance to chat with you, share a little bit with our families about what it is that we do. But to bring it to a close, because we want to get you home, we want to make sure that you get those kiddos fed, get the homework done, is to remind you, if you have not done so, please make sure you apply, and apply to multiple campuses. If you think that this might be a great opportunity for your student, we think you'll love BASIS, and we hope you do too. And so apply to multiple campuses. We are still accepting applications for both this school year and the next. If you have been offered a seat, go ahead and accept that seat. And then engage with us. Join the school tour, get on our social media. We'll be having many events throughout the spring and especially into the summer months with our new families coming in, and we look forward to seeing you there.
We've got a QR code too. If I'm pointing in the right direction over here, they can scan that as well while we're on that screen. It may be up, maybe to the side. I think I'm good over here. David, thank you so much for taking the time to answer all these questions, and thank you to everyone else that came out tonight as well too. It's been an honor, and like we said, a historic evening with so many people interested in being a part of this BASIS community. We just want to express how grateful we are for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.